Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to our stream where we are boldly gonna go where every other YouTube nerd channel has gone before. That's right, we're reviewing Star Wars: The Skeleton Crew, and as you can see, Zam is perfectly kitted out for the Star Wars by wearing the red shirt. He already died earlier; he fell asleep, and makes no difference to us because in the end I had problems gaming online, the servers weren't working, and the Arsenal game was just too good to miss. So we're late, but we're fairly satisfied because our team won a derby. And so with that, let's get back into Star Wars. But so we have the Skeleton Crew, written and directed mostly, well, not even mostly directed, unfortunately. He could have directed a couple of more episodes, to be honest, by John Watts. And if you know John Watts, you know he gave us the absolutely flawless Spider Man trilogy, which I absolutely effing love. And it's my favorite MCU trilogy by a country mile.
It's the best one.
Yeah, by far. Love it. I
Yeah.
it's and they're the ones that I've watched the most, like repeat, on repeat. I just love everything about the Spider-Man films. I love them, and so I was so happy that he was going to give us Star Wars as well. Let me check my microphone
He
levels.
didn't
Right.
do. He done the first episode and the last episode, but they had the other directors in between.
Yes, yes, which was a bit frustrating to be honest. I would have liked to see him direct at least, half or more than half, because it's not you're not really kind of in charge of the whole show if you're letting other people take the helm of it, and that kind of did show as the series kind of went on to a certain extent, and then that. But before we get into it, Zan, your overall thoughts on Skeleton Crew?
Um, I liked it, and I was kind of surprised because maybe because we all going into this thinking, oh no, it's Disney Star Wars again, it's going to be shit, and then lo and behold, it's not as bad as we thought it would be. And yeah, obviously the nostalgia played its part, especially with its Spielbergian, if there's such a word, sort of
Yeah,
vibes about it. That Amber Lynn sort of shit going on. You know, there's so many of his movies, of his kids' films especially, were in this series, and you mix it with something like Star Wars, um, it, it comes out to be pretty interesting, and it was an interesting adventure. And plus, as I said before, we've spoken about this. This is a kid's project, so to speak. This is in Disney's fucking wheelhouse, ballpark, whatever the terminology may be. This is when they're at their best, when they're trying to not necessarily, do family entertainment, which is trying to encompass hardcore stuff, but really melting it down as a PG sort of product. No, this is a kids show, and they really are very good at doing the kids stuff, which is why they're such a massive corporation in the
um,
first place.
yeah. I mean, this show was surprisingly good. I really enjoyed it, especially. So when we got to episode 4, and the collective agreement is that episode 4 was absolutely abysmal. I can't remember what happens in it, but I just remember it was really, really bad. And then we thought, oh dear God, that's it. But then 5, 6, 7, and 8, they just got better and better and better. And I think it did a good job of just getting us to that point. And once you get over the hump, it was totally worth it because what we got the second half of the show was incredible. Like I just absolutely ended up falling in love with it. It's not to say it doesn't have its problems, but then all shows have a couple of little niggles. But off the bat, what I will say is, look, we're not going to go into full descriptions. You're here because this is a spoiler review. So if you're here, you've seen it. Otherwise, there's no point in. Otherwise, we'd sit there and describe the whole thing step by step. So what I will say is this: there are so many little nuggets of interesting bits that by the end of it, some areas just weren't left answered, and I love that. That got the extra point for me because it was left so open at the end. Yeah, I love that. Rather than say like the final episode, they will try to just wrap things up really early and then do like 20 minutes of an epilogue, and just lots of exposition and fan service and all this crap. And it's like, no, they just treat it as a normal episode, especially given how short they are, and they left it open. Like, we don't know who comes down in that big ship in the end, but given it's a vast galaxy, it really shouldn't be a recognizable character because there's so many billions and trillions of species and people there that,
It was a Republic ship. You know,
yeah,
you
it was a
saw it.
Republic ship that came
Yeah.
down. But what I mean is, it you don't know who's on that ship because usually it land and you get like fucking Leia or something stupid like that, and here it's just like, no, there's a ship, and then you've seen enough Star Wars to kind of get it. Okay, that's fine, and then they left it open. But the most interesting part of this whole show, by a country mile, was Jude Law's character, Judd. Absolutely
Fantastic.
fantastic. He is a fantastic addition to the Star Wars universe. He is the main reason I slogged through the first 4 episodes, to be perfectly honest, because it was just like, oh, well, that and the mystery of the planet. And I thought that was excellent as well, the kind of mystery of the planet. So before I go any further, your thoughts on Jude Law's character?
Phenomenal. And I like the way, like his character, like the arc of his particular character. I thought he was actually a decent person initially because he did so many things in the earlier episodes, which made you think to yourself, okay, he's bending over backwards for these kids and stuff like that. He saved their lives and all of that. But then when he turned, like when he genuinely turned, and he didn't want to actually necessarily cause harm to these children, but he wasn't. That was it. Now he was done being their protector and their savior, and now he wants to get as much out of them as possible. That was also great, and there was no necessary redemption for him either, which was, I was really worried that he's going, oh no, I'm going to stop all the pirates and give up the gold and save these children. I'm glad that shit did not happen. Like he was pushing the boundary right until that lever got pulled pretty much, and I just thought it was great. He reminded me of other characters he's played before, like that robot character he played in AI and stuff like that. I was getting those vibes, but he's just great, and I look forward to seeing him as he's part of this sort of like extended universe now, where this period of time, which is during the Mandalorian era. I'm hoping to see him maybe cross over into another show if they don't do a second season of this. I mean, how can you do a second season of this? And those kids themselves will have grown up by the time they start doing a second season. So I wouldn't mind seeing him cross over. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
Yeah.
my thoughts for season 2 is to ditch the kids now. Ditch the kids and focus on Judd and where he goes and what his journey is and what's he going to do now. His crew's either been arrested or dead. His mission is failed, but what I do in season 2 is just focus on him and how he escapes from the planet, because obviously he's going to get away. Or does he manipulate the situation and say, look, I'm a Jedi and this, that, and the other, and gets away with it, or all this kind of stuff. But the kids, for me, we've seen them. We don't need to see them. They were the weaker part of this show, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't want to diss on the kids, because obviously it's kids. But they could have got more interesting actors to play these roles, or done the kids better justice. Again, it's not against the kids, it's just the hiring process. And they really, for something that's centered around the kids, it takes a long while. It takes like up to episode 5 or 6 when the bot shuts down. That kind of episode, that was really when the kids kind of really shone. But before that, they were the least interesting thing in this whole thing, and they were just, the main boy, I forget his name, but he was
Win, I think.
Win, that's it. He was so
Yeah.
dull. He
was annoying. He was annoying, but look, for me, I got a different perspective. Like, I want to see these. Like, you talk about seeing characters grow. Like, here they are. Like, they start off as children, and God knows what they'll end up being, in a few years from now, as they start becoming young adults. So I would love to see an arc of them being like initially a bunch of naive young sport brats living on a boring utopia in Atatan. Let's be honest. But
Yeah.
now that the safety blanket has been removed, we'll see what happens. Obviously, he has inspirations of joining the Republic. You can kind of see that when you saw that Republic vessel. You have the other kid with the visor. I mean, where does she go? The Elephant Boy, does he, starts becoming a bit braver, and the other girl becomes a bit more responsible. All of these things, I would love to see their progress. And like I said, they're going to grow up. I mean, they're children now. They're children. The thing with
I mean,
television shows and kids, they're going to get older very quickly,
yeah.
like the
I
Stranger
mean,
Things
you
kids.
you see them in interviews, and Win is already shot up in height. He's
Yeah,
like surpassed all of them. He's like really grown, and it's only been what 2 years since they did this,
yeah.
and he's already grown. So, but see, my issue is I want a direct continuation, and you can't do a direct continuation with the kids in it because they've grown so much. So if you come back to them later, say season 3, if they get to season 3, which it doesn't make any sense what I'm saying, so just ignore
They'll
that.
get even older. You know,
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You can allow some passage of time, or you just come back to them, you know, or you come back to the whole show 2 years later, and then you kind of do your flashbacks of how Judd ended. But I don't really want that. I want to see. I just want to see his adventure continue. I get what you mean with the kids, and it'll be interesting to see them, but we don't need to see them straight away. We could see them a couple of years down the line. But there is,
but they did start this series. I mean, they were like the forefront.
yeah,
If anything, Jude Law like tagged along. After they were Jude Law wasn't in the first episode. We just saw him at
no,
the end of the second episode.
yeah, that's right.
So he's it's just as much their show as his show, and
It's their
but
show.
but
It's their show.
I
But
want to know.
they just didn't do a good job with the kids. That's what I mean. Like
Well,
the
yeah, I
actors,
mean,
they just didn't do. Like if you look at Stranger Things, you want to watch Stranger Things because the kids were so fucking good. Like everyone, like fell in love with her. That's why they just hit the stratosphere because they were good actors and still are really good actors. That's why you see. Uh, uh,
they're all adults now,
yeah, they're all
all in
adults
their
now,
early
but that's why you
20s.
see like at
Yeah,
least half of them in so many shows all the time now because they're just really, really fucking good actors, and that's what drew it to this. They just weren't good actors. They just weren't
you don't think they can
directed
have a
in
chance to
a good
improve? I
way.
mean, they are young. I mean, a lot of them. This could be their first television.
Yeah,
You know,
and again, it's nothing against the actors. Look, Daniel Radcliffe wasn't great when he first started, and you look at him now; he's phenomenal. He's what like
yeah.
so
They're all
versatile.
pretty good.
So
Yeah,
it's nothing against the kids. They just could have done
and
if they're going
they
to
use
carry the
them.
show, they need to be interesting.
And not just that, but those kids work their arse off because they made a film every fucking year. That shit's unheard of now. You
Yeah,
know, to make a movie every year, like the way they did. But
yeah,
and those weren't small movies either. Those were fucking Hollywood blockbusters. Those Harry Potter films, big budgets and
yeah,
everything. You know. So,
exactly.
but what I'm thinking now is regarding how does Atom maybe connect to the overall Star Wars universe now it's been revealed, and so there are people already theorizing, which was interesting because this is set before yeah, the episode 7, which his name escapes me. What was episode 7
Force
called?
Awakens.
The Force Awakens, where you have Starkiller Base.
Yeah,
Now, Aten is swimming in riches. It's got over 1,000 volts. Over 1,100. I think 1,169 volts.
something like that. Yeah.
Swimming in credits. And they make credits, I believe, on that planet as well.
Yes.
So they have the
They're mining.
resources to
It's a
do it.
mining planet.
Yeah. So could that planet end up funding Starkiller Base in the future? I mean, now it's open to everyone. And it's not. I mean, even though the Empire will probably have to protect it, there could be people, spies, whatever there may be, that extracts the wealth from that planet, and then next boom, Starkiller Base is being created.
Yeah. I mean, my only issue is like like that lever just destroyed the defenses, and that's stupid. That's a terrible plot device because it's just like, fine, in an emergency you'd let the defenses down, but you'd need a system to reboot it up. All right, you can argue the computer's dead now, so that plays a part as well. But that being said, it's now exposed. It's now going to be able to be tracked. You know, if some of the pirates have definitely escaped, because we know there was some outside of the planet as well.
Well, that
Um,
one who was in Mandalorian, he's escaped.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's escaped.
yeah.
Don't forget they, because they shot down Thingy's ship while she was out there sending a signal, and so some of them escaped. So obviously the word is out, and it's going to be interesting. So again, the planetary stuff is interesting, which is a good way to kind of bring the kids back in. Obviously, we know Win is going to want to, he looked the way he looked at the X-wing pilots and things like that is probably where he's going to want to go. But that being said, if we go focus on the kids again, because I know I've shot on them already, but I did like their journey in the end and how, like, like the elephant kid was just like, oh, well, it's just, I'm probably going to die again today or something like that and all this kind of stuff. And their kind of journey, and in the end of it, where he's got the cannon and he, like, shoots a pirate ship and the other one,
They
like,
all played
flies.
a part, didn't they? They all had
They
their
all played their
moment.
part. They all played their part and they had a really, really good journey along the way. And like I said, it was either episode 5 or 6 with the giant crab and all of that. And that's where they really just came alive in that episode. The one where they're at the spa planet where they get the
Yeah,
final.
I remember. And the
Yeah,
fucking crab, the droid
yeah.
crabs and stuff like
That
that,
was,
which was hilarious as well.
that was I love that
What did you think?
episode.
What do you think of Stephen Fry being like the supervisor who? And they obviously copied Hal from 2001
Yeah,
and all of that. I knew he was going to be a droid. I mean, we heard his voice earlier in the previous episode, so
yeah.
I
It was
knew.
obvious it was going to be a droid. Yeah, I mean
What were they doing?
that's
Wizard of Oz and stuff like that? Were they trying to?
um. The thing is, I wasn't surprised when we found out that the supervisor, whatever his name is, was a droid. Like that didn't surprise me at all. It's just quite funny how, like, yeah, nobody visits them in person. You saw how, like, dusty and old looking that room was. I know, like, because I only know this because I saw it in a video the other day. No, it was today actually. Eckhart's Ladder, with he had, like, in one of the comic strips, they had like a supercomputer that ran the planet and things like that. So I don't know if it
Done
was an
quite a lot in
homage to
Star
that
Trek,
as
I may
well.
add. It's a common thing in Star Trek
Yeah,
for
well, there you
supercomputers
go.
to
So
run
it could even
planets.
be an homage, yeah, to Star Trek. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was really good because the kind of droid is just stuck in its old protocols. Like, when he says, like, "Oh, last I heard, you Jedi's were traitors to the Republic," kind of
I
thing.
love
So
that.
he's
That was a great
yeah,
moment.
that
That
was
was a really
brilliant.
clever moment
Yeah,
because
and
you didn't have to like explain it to you. You know what he was on about. You
yeah,
know,
that's what exactly. I mean, but that was the other good thing with the show. There wasn't a lot of exposition. They just kind of went with it. Like, it didn't treat you like a moron. Although we kind of thought, oh god, at the beginning here we're going to get that a lot of that kind of Americana because suburbs and all this kind of stuff. And then, but along the way, it just kind of it didn't treat the audience too much like an idiot as well. And I respect that. And take the adults out of this. Take us out of this. If I'm a kid watching this, I'm effing loving it. Like, this to me would be my version of E.T. and Goonies if I'm a kid. And the fact is, I
yeah.
get 8 episodes.
Well, the ET moments were the speeder bikes, but it was mainly Goonies. Yeah, I really when they jumped over that fucking ridge, I really wanted to see some sort of alien moon or sun in the
Oh, that
background.
would have been, yeah,
It
that
would
would
be a
have been
bit too much.
hilarious. But that bit was
Yeah,
great with the dad as well, because the dad after was like, "Yeah, woo!" I was just
I
like,
have seen
"Yeah."
that dad actor in other stuff, but I can't put a finger on it. I know
I,
I've seen him in other things,
I have
but
no idea what he's in. He was all right. He was nothing. It was nothing special. But that part, he was like, he was fun. It was a lot of
it
fun.
was a bit, like the overall story of like Atten being this like like first for a start, you just initially think that this planet It's like every other Star Wars planet. You know, there's aliens around. I mean, there's aliens on that planet. There's humans and aliens all living together. It's got droids and everything. Every element of Star Wars is in there. Yet somehow these people are totally isolated from the rest of the universe.
Yeah.
And then when you start to figure that out, in the latter episodes, that whole Aten, that's just a myth or a story, and all of these sort of things. And you come to realize that these kids have been living on a mystical planet as far as the rest of the universe is concerned. It was interesting. I found it a little bit weird at first, but as it progressed, that part of the story became interesting, and it
Yeah.
became a treasure planet, even though it is and it isn't. And all of that became really cool as well. So yeah,
Yeah. And I think that like the most fascinating thing of that ended up being that nobody's visited that planet in 20 years, like from the Republic.
more than 20 years.
More
Well,
than
actually,
20 years.
the ship that crashed, we don't know when it did crash,
Well,
and that
yeah,
was
the ship
and
that
that
crashed is one thing, but I'm talking about like representatives from the Republic, because as far as they know, they have no clue about the Empire.
yeah. And by the way,
So
the ship that crashed was an Aten ship, by the way. So
it was a
that's also a
Republic
bit
ship.
weird. Yeah, but it was able to somehow
Yeah,
it crashed in the ground and everything. Yeah, and it was weird. I mean, the mystery around that wasn't necessarily resolved, which is a good thing in a way. Like how did that ship somehow end up crashing there and they building around it and nobody fucking noticed it? You know, um,
yeah,
but so
yeah.
and all
How
of that.
the
Yeah.
I mean, the mystery is that it crashed on a thing and they built all that armor around it, because in order for it to get into the planet, but it was still recognized as a
Yeah, once
Republic
what
ship
yeah,
because
once
it
they
was
removed that sleeve, which they did
yeah,
in the episode of the Spa episode,
yeah,
it became like a new ship almost, and it didn't have obviously the armor on it, but at the same time it was recognized as an Aten ship, um, as well. So they did have spacecraft and stuff like that. But regarding all these people, how did they end up on this planet, and how they've been, like, how many generations have been there and all of that, and there's so much more that in a way that needs to be explained that hasn't been explained, which
mhm,
could possibly
which is great.
explained, and or maybe not. Sometimes explanations ruin things, but
Yeah,
you
sometimes
know
and sometimes leaving things a mystery is great. Like who was Judd's trainer? You know what I mean? Is that going to be somebody well known? I wouldn't have it as someone well known. I'd just have it as just another new addition, another
well,
new
but
Jedi.
once again, it's another Jedi that survived Order 66 until they got caught, and
Yeah,
as well,
and
so
then
what
she was
what do you
cut
think?
down.
I got to ask you a question now. What do you think of Nick Frost as the as 63? Was that his name? 33?
SM-33 Smee.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember Smee from Peter Pan.
Oh yes, yes, of course, of
Smee.
course.
I
Nick
loved him.
Frost in Star
He
Wars,
was he
excellent.
was the second best thing in the show. He was the
Once
second best.
again, a droid still, like the people who voice act these droids, they are constantly stealing the show.
Yeah,
Like, I'm very much
yeah.
looking forward to what's his face in coming in Andor, but he'll definitely come in Andor
Alex
season
Tudyk.
2. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to how that pans out. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was fantastic, in this and all of that, and the pirate theme as well,
Loved it.
which was there. I'm very happy they didn't do too. They were pirate enough without being a bit too piratey. You know what I mean? They don't go like shiver me timbers and all that. They weren't saying shit like that. But some of
Yeah.
their outfits and stuff like that made them look like pirates, like of what we consider to be pirates of our period. Like Pirates of the Caribbean style and all of that.
Yeah, which is actually not really like if you look at actual pirate history, they didn't actually dress anything like what we see in the films. Just a couple might have done, but most of their outfits were very basic. Just a white shirt and some long trousers, not all this fucking weird jewelry and hats and all this kind of stuff for the most part. But when you're dealing with the kind of Hollywood aesthetic of it, it looked fantastic. I loved it. It was really funny just seeing Urkel in the crowd as a pirate as well. That was the black bald guy. That was piloting the ship towards the end. He had all
Where have I
the
seen? Where have I seen him before? He looks very
Urkel. He
familiar.
played Urkel in Did I Do That?
Oh yeah, yeah.
From
You were a
Family
kid
Matters.
then, was it? Yeah,
He was
yeah,
a
yeah,
kid,
yeah, yeah.
Jaleel White, and yeah, he was in that. I loved it when Jude just killed the fucking wolf pirate thing as well. The leader, I forgot his name, just didn't hesitate, just pulled the
Brutus, I
trigger.
think his name was.
Brutus, that's it. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brutus and all of that. But it'll be interesting to see that the ones that did survive, what happens with them, if we're going to see them again. Does Jard regroup with them? Does he take some Republic credits with him? I mean, you'd be stupid not to take some
Or
credits
he
with.
filled his ship with it, but then the ship was taken over by that girl with the visor, whose name escapes
Yeah,
me. And you saw all those credits. I mean, there's credits fucking everywhere, man. You know what I mean? Like, but they
because
didn't
they
give a
hadn't been
fuck.
collected. They've just been there. Like they've just not been collected for since the
Yeah, they've
fall
been
of the
gathering.
Old Republic,
Yeah,
and they've just been there. And that's the other part as well. Like that's the other. See, there's so many wonderful nuggets because then it's about the New Republic. How comes they didn't know about Atin and all this kind of stuff? So that aspect to it. There's still more mysteries behind the planet. It's not all just been answered straight away. So there's lots to go there. I do hope we don't end up like the Acolyte where it gets cancelled because it doesn't deserve it. It didn't get, the viewership wasn't high for this either, because that's just a trend with Star Wars. But I think enough buzz should be created around this because everyone, the universal consensus is that a lot of people enjoyed it. You know what I mean? And it's for me, it's one of the standout Star Wars shows that
well,
we've had.
you have British actors in there. It's going to do great with like Nick Frost, Stephen Fry, and Jude Law.
Yeah,
They're gonna do, they're gonna make sure the show's going to be really great. And yeah,
I
we
agree.
rely on the Brits.
Always rely on the Brits to save a show. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hoping. I'm really hoping we do get season two and more mysteries to it, more kind of delving into like aspects of the fallout of the fall of the empire and things like that, and just more seedy shit and fun adventures and more kind of a look back at Jude's kind of history or what he does. Does he like go down the Jedi route? Does he try to redeem himself, or is he just?
I don't think so. I think
No, I hope not.
I still want him to be that scoundrel,
Yeah, yeah,
and all of that. And in a way, I'm glad we got answers very quickly regarding him having, being, a force user and stuff like that. So, yeah,
yeah. Because
that was pretty cool.
there was always that misdirection of he's using trickery. He's not a genuine Jedi. Then it turns out no, he is. He's Jedi
Yeah,
trained.
there's too many things that he did, even in the first episode where he would like throw a sound over there, like Obi-Wan Kenobi did,
Yeah,
in New Hope. I thought, okay, how's he pulling that one off? Like even the key and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I always felt that he was force sensitive, and as we progressed in the show, we saw more and more of it. So there was never any doubt in my mind that he wasn't. But I'm glad we got the answer, and it was a very very quick answer at that. And so yeah, I'm
yeah.
glad that got resolved. So
Yeah. So that's pretty much we've covered most of it. We talked about the planet again, talking about all the little nitty gritty things. It's not that important. They still carried on the Star Wars trope of a planet that just has one city and that's the whole planet and one
yeah,
type of
no, actually that
leader.
annoyed me. Like Jesus Christ, like there's a whole fucking planet, and yet somehow there's only that one place where that family were living in seems to be the only fucking place on that planet. I
Yeah,
mean, do people realize what a planet is? Like, it's not a
they
city.
don't
It's
in
the
the
way
Star
Star
Wars
Wars
universe.
treats planet like cities and villages.
Yeah.
It annoys the fuck out of me at
Yeah,
times.
it's
You
it's
know,
it's really frustrating. Like the first thing if I ever had a Star Wars show, the first thing I would do is have a planet that had various different climates, not a singular climate, and I'd make it a point of a joke just to say, well, yeah, that's this region's issue, but I don't know, you might have to speak to the other ones over there. So you got to fly a ship over there, kind of thing, just to point out that just because you've landed in one city, it's not speaking of the whole planet. That's the equivalent of landing in LA and be like, right, so LA
this is
speaks for the rest of
California.
the world. Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
California. Yeah. you know, and it's just it's ridiculous. So but it's just
Star Trek does it as well, unfortunately. Yeah, so
yeah,
yeah,
they work
not as
on the
much, not
nose
as
a little.
bad, but it does
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I mean, at least Star Trek could argue that their planets don't have borders and all that, but you're still going to have regions, whether you like it or not. You know what I
Well,
mean?
one
It's
culture,
no
like I
issue.
mean, this is what annoys me about sci-fi and shit like that. Like, Earth is a planet with hundreds of languages and hundreds of fucking cultures. You know, whilst
Yeah,
every alien race we pretty much come across, has one language and fucking one culture in the whole
yeah,
fucking planet.
yeah. It's just ridiculous, and yeah, you need to have a sci-fi show that addresses that. We have fewer planets, but those fewer planets are divided into regions, countries, and species, and races, and all this kind of stuff. But with that being said, yeah, we've covered pretty much everything, so we can go ahead and mark this. Sam, you go ahead.
I'll be honest with you, I'm stuck between a 7 and an 8. Um,
We
I
can
don't
go
like
halfway.
doing. I don't really like. I'm not a halfway sort of guy, So
Okay.
I'll I'll give it a 7, and the reason being is that I think it is very very good, and I did enjoy it. It's it's look if Disney were churning out good Star Wars, really really good Star Wars, where would this be amongst the good stuff? And for
That's a
that
good
reason
point.
alone, that's why it gets a 7. I mean, it's better than some of the stuff, even though people forget they have come up with some good stuff. Obviously, a lot of people love Rogue One. I've always been a big fan of the finale of Rogue One, and Andor has been pretty good, and some of their animation, I think Bad Batch is superb. If people want to give that a chance, it's really really good. I've watched all 3 seasons, thoroughly enjoyed it. The Clone Wars is also pretty popular too, and they wrapped that one up as well. So there is some good stuff out there by Disney and Star Wars, but compared to everything else, it's all pretty crap. So if this, when you're having a show like this compared to stuff like Andor and even the original trilogy and stuff like that, yeah, it gets a 7. But it's still good. 7 is not bad. 7 is good.
Seven's
Yeah,
good. Listen,
yeah,
once you go above a five, you're in the good territory. Anything five and below, you're in like the mid to like shit
yeah.
territory. But seven's good. I mean, seven's is exactly what I'm giving it as well. And there's the two main reasons are number one, the kids weren't great in it and weren't the stars and the standouts like say Stranger with Things or even in Goonies where the kids were the standouts or like Elliot alone in ET was the standout.
Hmm.
In this, they weren't. And when you're doing a show that centers around these kids, they almost shit the bed because if episode 4 was like the president set for the rest of the next 4 episodes, people would have just bailed out and that was it. But thankfully, they did turn it around. They did make the kids more interesting. I still don't care enough to like want to go revisit them, to be honest. But that's just me. But that being said, that and the fucking runtime. The runtimes were ridiculous. It was just half an hour episodes. Half an hour. Maybe 32 minutes maximum. And the kind of weird sudden endings that just like that. They just kind of ended it. And it's just like,
Common
oh man.
thing now with some streaming shows, which piss me off.
Yeah.
Like they might
Especially with
start off a bit
Disney.
long, and then they just like, all right, final episode now, 25 minutes. So what? Like,
Yeah. It's more
please,
Disney that do that. Not the other ones don't do that. That's Disney. That's a pure
Disney.
Disney thing, and it's pure
Well,
Disney with
we
Star
got it
Wars
with the Tulsa King a little bit,
and
remember
Marvel.
that?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, we did get it with Tulsa King, but Disney's more the bigger culprit, especially with their Marvel and and Star Wars stuff. So for that reason, those are my two main reasons I would knock off the points. But other than that, yeah, 7 is perfectly good. It's still better than literally most of the Star Wars stuff we've had so far, like Boba Fett, and I didn't even bother with the Acolyte and all that kind of shit. But you just again, if you let the right directors just have the carte blanche and you don't have studio interference, like we've had with Kenobi, which was god awful, like we had with
You
Boba
ru-
Fett, which was
How can
god
you
awful.
ruin Obi-Wan Kenobi, man?
They've
Jesus
ruined it.
Christ.
Yeah, they've ruined because it was studio interference. Like poor Deborah Cho, she just came out and said it. She just said like we had everything planned out, and then the studio, basically Kennedy, came out and just changed everything at the last minute as well. She's like a
I'll
Vince
never
McMahon.
forgive him for that because like it should not have been fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi taking care of Leia because you don't necessarily feel that bond with Obi-Wan and Leia in New Hope, whatever little of it was there,
Yeah,
and it just like why didn't she fucking get upset when Obi-Wan died? She fucking spent her childhood. He saved her fucking life. Like
yeah,
yeah, that's been portrayed now in like and yeah, it's just so stupid. Like
yeah.
I'm
There's no
very upset
canon
with
to
that.
me. Kenobi's in it is like the multiverse. Like it just doesn't exist to me. It's absolute garbage. But when you get like if you look at say Andor and Rogue One, which again is the Gilroy influence there, they're among the best things in Star Wars. Period. Like Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars film, and that says a lot considering how amazing the original trilogy was. But if you just let the talent do their job, you'll get amazing stuff. If you interfere, okay, you get Kenobi and Boba Fett. So
Rogue One, my god, like that film answered the age-old question of the exhaust pipe in space. Like
yeah,
like the creator of the Death Star purposely said he made a weakness. He purposely made a weakness.
yeah,
Which end up getting exploited in the movies.
yeah,
Brilliant. Like brilliant.
absolutely
People forget
brilliant.
that. Yeah.
Just a
So
brilliant film. Like me and my brother will watch that every couple of months. I'm around his and we'll just watch it and just love it. Just shame the nephews don't give a crap about it, but they're still young. They got time. So yeah, with that being said, let's hope we do get a season two. More of this from Star Wars, or even better, they can do better. We've got Andor coming up, so I think
if
everyone
we
and
if,
the mother
if we
is
get a
really looking
season
forward to
two,
that.
if we get
Yeah,
by the way, if we get a season two, it, I mean, in a way, like, it doesn't have to be a season two. It could be like a different show, but involving these characters. But it doesn't because like Skeleton Crew almost season two almost feels like okay, somehow we need to get Jude Law and these kids back together again on another adventure. And it doesn't have to go that direction, if you know what I
doesn't have
mean.
to. It could be completely separate, but it could be like
Yeah.
a simultaneous story being told that is just two completely different paths. They don't have to re-meet again, or you know, if eventually you could argue that when Jude Law say fully just becomes an arsehole and a successful piece of shit or whatever, Wim takes him down in an X-wing a decade later when he's like a pilot or whatever. So you bring it round full circle. But we don't necessarily like the sequel doesn't have to follow them both together. They could go their
Well, no,
separate.
but we could have a series based on Jude Law's character.
Yeah,
You
that's what I
know,
want. Yeah, that's what I want.
but it doesn't have to be Skeleton Crew. It could be
No,
what was it, the name of his character? But he had so many fucking aliases.
the only one I remember is Judd because it's close to his name.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so just call it the Adventures of Judd, yeah, whatever. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to just have his own spin-off show, and then whenever they want to go back to the other stuff, that's
Oh
fine.
no, hold on, let's just we're woke ourselves, by the way, just so you understand. We are
Yeah, we're
very
broke.
woke.
Don't worry.
I'm a bisexual ex-Muslim. I am as woke as it can be, dude, and we just putting it in there as a way of basically wondering if people would consider it woke. And don't get me wrong, it is to a degree, but I'm fine. But we don't give a shit. We haven't brought up until now. Now you've spoken, Spider. We haven't brought up the fact that there was a lesbian couple, and we didn't give a shit. But as you brought it up, there was a lesbian couple, and we don't give a fucking shit. You
Does
know,
it?
yeah, there
Oh
was. It
yeah,
was
Vice Girl, her parents.
Vita
Yeah,
Girl's parents. You
doesn't
know,
matter. The show wasn't. Listen, the show
yeah,
wasn't woke. It was just normal, and normal is having lesbian mothers or two gay fathers or
yep,
two gay
exactly.
fathers. That's normal to us. I just put woke in the title because bait.
Yeah.
But we're all for it. You know what I mean? And we do know what woke is.
No, you mentioned like there was this one guy who criticized the Superman trailer for being woke. Yeah, yeah. But there are people out there who actually look for. If they don't find woke, they have no existence. Like they
Yeah.
need to find woke in everything they fucking do. And this guy goes, "Yeah, look, Perry White, he's black. Well, he was black in the previous film, played by Lawrence Fishburne. So no one gave a shit back then. But fair enough, And I know a Latina Hawk Girl, that he had a problem with that, and then like the fact that Guy Gardner had a bowl cut, even though he has a bowl cut in the fucking comics, and thinks that he's going to be a bad guy. Sorry, not a bad guy, but a comic relief and a sort of annoying trope because he's white and all of that, and Mr. Terrific's black, and he's only shoot in there because of DEI and stuff like that. Like, shut the fuck up, mate. Like, these are established comic book characters.
Yeah.
He's looking, and also he thinks that Lois Lane, the actress, is not hot enough, to be Lois Lane. And I'm thinking to myself, she's just playing a fucking a journalist. She's not going into work looking to fucking shag everyone and dressed like a very sultry. And if you do see pictures of that same actress when she is trying to look very hot in photo shoots, she's fucking gorgeous. So she's fucking gorgeous.
I don't understand why they said she's not hot, because she is. She is. Not that it
she's
matters.
beautiful.
That's not irrelevant. Like Amy Adams, not hot, but
Amy Adams is fucking smoking, man. I mean,
she's not my type, but yeah, fair enough. Other people.
I'll tell you what. The actress who played Lois Lane in Superman Returns, I forgot her name, but my problem with her, I thought she was too young. She looked way too young to be fucking Lois Lane.
Yeah, she was young.
Yeah,
she was
like mid-20s.
That's the problem. Like, they're supposed to play slightly older characters, and
she's young in the sense that she's now got a fucking kid who's like 8 years old, young. You know what I mean? Like, remember she had Clark Kent's kid. So
that's what I mean. But
she was way too,
the actress that played her at the time was only like, I think she was mid to
20,
late 20s at the time.
Yeah, 25, I think.
Yeah,
so she was way too young.
Should have been a 40-year-old, because if we're going off this Christopher Reeve Superman, like that Lois Lane and that Superman are already like 30, and here we've got a bunch of
Margot Kidder is actually 6 years older than Christopher Reeve, and she actually didn't find Christopher Reeve attractive, which is incredible because he's a very handsome man. But regardless, what she said is that when she had to do scenes where she had to kiss him, she pretended that he was Harrison Ford.
Fair enough.
That was great.
Fair enough. And on that wonderful tidbit, we shall bid you adieu. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for letting us derail the end of the stream with our anti-woke sentiment. And on that note,
fuck the anti-woke.
Yeah, fuck the anti-woke. And let normality